We begin with the latest development from the Eastern Front. The line between instinct and survival is now measured in seconds, not minutes, not even heartbeats. 4 seconds. That is all some Russian soldiers had when the shadow of a drone crossed their trench before the sound reached their ears. For them, the clock started too late. For the camera, it started exactly on time. They say idioms explain reality. In war, they expose it. 1 foot here, the other already there. On paper, it means speed. In a trench, it means boots torn from feet that never finished a step. This report shows what 4 seconds looks like when the eye in the sky decides outcomes. The scene opens on a tree line that has learned to keep secrets. A Russian pair moves along a trench lip, one scouting, one trailing with a radio. The drone angles low, riding a drainage ditch to keep its silhouette broken against the background. The lookout hears nothing at first. He feels something, a pressure change, a cold prick at the back of the neck. That is second 1. By second 2, the radio hand fumbles for the handset. By second 3, both men choose motion before thought. By second 4, the dugout entrance they guarded collapses inward. Not spectacle. A decision. What follows remains clinical. A motorcycle attempts to outrun physics on soft ground. It cannot. A single precise drop turns the engine into a torch. The rider spins once, twice, then disappears behind a tree he thought could negotiate with shrapnel and flame. The operator's ethos is simple. Measure in preparation, act with finality. At night there is no luxury to measure 7 times. The measuring is built into the hands. A second drone lingers nearby, not to prolong fear, but to ensure completion if the first strike fails. Another soldier dives to his knees, searching for cover that does not exist. A ribbon of saplings and scrub cannot hide what heat reveals. The aircraft corrects height by centimeters, squares its approach by degrees, and removes his last illusion. The ground will camouflage no one tonight. Where the camera's rectangle begins, the aesthetic of survival ends. A radar station falls in a way that bends the enemy's map beyond what numbers on paper can show. Between 5:30 and 8 a.m., 22 armored vehicles attempt to move. The largest column, 11 tanks and IFVs, rolls from Malinivka's approaches at 7:50. The belief is that concealment will disguise intent. Equipment pulled close to tree lines, metal under tarps, counter-UAV observers posted to SWAT reconnaissance before mining can begin. The plan anticipates failure without preventing it. Reconnaissance finds 2 armored elements before they reach cover. Artillery and FPV platforms finish the work. Later, as pre-sighted engineering, smart minefields, and artillery fire intersect, 9 armored units become scrap and 4 more are damaged into irrelevance. A surprise planned at a desk is cancelled by a calculation made in the field. Claims about newly seized territory fill propagandists' pages. The Phoenix unmanned unit submits a different ledger. Precise hits stop sabotage and reconnaissance groups before they approach the line of contact. In one sequence, the tally is straightforward. A motorcycle, a passenger car, 3 trucks, an armored vehicle, 3 hostile FPV drones, and a key communications antenna are removed from the equation. The mission is not to impress. The mission is to immobilize. Night changes the rules because physics chooses sides. Thermal and low-light optics require no added illumination. The aerial platforms become shadows without voices. If hitting them after dark was difficult before, it has become something close to impossible when the enemy cannot even see the direction of approach. Fatigue takes its tax. By evening, soldiers want sleep. Vigilance thins. Observation narrows. Targets become statues that breathe. Night also introduces friction. Reading terrain through thermal is an art under constraint. Wind pushes drops a meter left, then right. In daylight, treetops offer reference. At night, only discipline and repetition do. The operators adjust with a doctrine as old as gunnery and as current as code. The first drop establishes range, the second concludes. After brief correction, the sequence is methodical. Camouflaged shelters, transport vehicles, personnel, crew-served weapons, critical supplies, and the secondary equipment that always turns out to be primary. What is essential does not survive the second pass. A trench junction reveals three movements at once. A hand reaches for a friend before a weapon, another reaches for the ladder, another for the radio, because contact feels like control even when it does not change outcomes. The drone does not choose bodies. It chooses the mouth of a dugout where crates rest under thermal blankets. Doctrine is not cruelty. It is economy. Remove the hour the enemy needs tomorrow, not just the second he wants today. This is how a platform built for a few $100 rewrites planning worth millions. An observation post built to spot and destroy reconnaissance drones blinks out. Daylight rules do not survive night's math. The lens does not gloat. The strike lands and the post returns to quiet ground. Further along, a camouflaged column believes trees will hide what engines confess. Thermal optics treat tarps as suggestions, not walls. Silhouettes bloom where idling warms the air. The first hits remove mobility, communications, and engines. The second set of strikes treats cargo and fuel as the contradictions they are, components that hate heat and proximity. Panic in one vehicle becomes a trap for another as the road closes with flame. The convoy's spine breaks at the midpoint. Everything behind it becomes consequence. The outcome looks like luck to the untrained eye. It is not. It is the accretion of correct boring decisions made under pressure, reconnaissance that does not blink, approach angles adjusted for crosswind, restraint when a cleaner shot is seconds away, and a reserve platform kept for completion rather than repetition. The numbers help illustrate what the camera already knows. Trained reaction to an unexpected aerial threat often takes nearly a second to register, another second or two to decide, and another to act. 4 seconds is a bridge many never complete crossing. An FPV bomber with warmed batteries and a clean power rail covers dozens of meters per heartbeat. Turning radius and freedom from roads consistently beat raw vehicle speed when seconds rule outcomes. One drone, one job. If a second platform is present, it is not theater. It is insurance that the cost already paid results in an outcome. As the night deepens, color drains from the world and the footage becomes signals and decisions. Platforms power down. Archives are logged. A short line of humor breaks and fades, not because the room is cold, but because the work insists on calm. Wires are stowed with ritual care by hands that balanced props to a hum hours earlier. There is no cheering. There is no triumph. There is a shared understanding. When a shadow crossed a trench near a stand of firs, for seconds wrote the day's conclusion. This is not content. It is a document. The value is not in spectacle, but in clarity. It records how time, intention, and precision now decide outcomes on a battlefield where price no longer guarantees power. It shows that shadow beats sound by a second, and that sound is already too late. It demonstrates why fatigue changes maps more than rivers, why roads create predictability rather than safety, and how discipline, more than sentiment, preserves lives on both sides by ending engagements quickly. Viewers who study this material will notice patterns. The consistent choice of supply over body, the preference for denying tomorrow's hour rather than today's second, the restraint that keeps operations professional and brief. These patterns are not accidents. They form a doctrine shaped by physics, experience, and ethics under pressure. If you found value in a record that privileges truth over theater, subscribe for reporting that stays with the evidence and leaves bravado at the door. Share this with those who still believe price equals power. And add your perspective below, particularly if you've served, on the one detail that outside observers